Okay. There, it's going.
All right. Okay.
Do you want to push in a bit?
Sure. There we go. All right. It's good to see you again, Angela.
Thank you.
We're in our 4th session, so we only have 3 more sessions to go through. So I thought we'd just start off maybe by seeing how your week went, and we left off with a few homework items. So is there anything you want to say before we get into the homework that happened this week, or?
No, it was a pretty straightforward week. Nothing really too exciting happened. So,
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll just get right back into, there was 3 items. The first was to connect with your boss at Sobeys, because you had mentioned maybe taking on other tasks and they hadn't gotten back to you. Did you end up having another conversation?
So I went to my boss on Monday I had to initiate the conversation because I really want to get into doing more things at work. So I initiated the conversation, and we spoke a little bit about what kind of different responsibilities I was looking for. And I said that I need something a bit more fulfilling and something where I feel like I'm maybe helping the customers a bit more, maybe interacting a bit more with them. And my boss and I agreed that I would help with kind of stocking shelves and get more of an opportunity to walk around the store as opposed to just staying at the cash.
That's excellent.
So I've been able, most people kind of know what they're looking for in a grocery store, but the odd time someone will come up and say, hey, where's this? And I'm able to help them find what they're looking for. And it just kind of gets me away from doing the same thing over and over and over again at work. So I feel a little bit better now going to work knowing that I have a bit more purpose and I have different responsibilities. The days don't drag on nearly as bad as they used to. And yeah, so the conversation, it went well. I felt like at first she was hesitant to giving me more responsibilities. I'm not sure if that's because she didn't trust me to be able to take on new things or she didn't know me well enough. But I felt like I advocated for myself really well and said just kind of give me a chance. And towards the end of the week, my boss actually made a comment saying that she was really impressed with the work that I'm doing, and we'll look at kind of giving me more opportunities as time goes on. But she thought the first week went really well.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you enjoyed going to work as opposed to feeling dreading it and unfulfilled there. That's great.
It's going a little bit better.
And it sounds great too that you took it upon yourself to go and initiate the conversation. It was some of that independence that we had been talking about.
Yeah. I was a bit nervous going to her, and I felt a little bit anxious bringing it up because I didn't want to feel like I was nagging, and she was the one who said when I first brought it up that she'd get back to me, but she wasn't. So I was a bit nervous and a bit anxious getting into it. But I'm glad that I brought it up and we spoke about it, and it turned out really well for the first week. So
that's good. And it sounds like she's noticing the difference as well.
Yeah.
That's good.
It was a nice compliment at the end of the week.
That sounds great. Right. And the second one was connecting with a career counselor. Did that end up happening? I know you had an appointment, or did you end up?
Yep. Yeah, I had my appointment on Tuesday after work, and she was a really, really nice counselor. We kind of spoke about different things I enjoy doing and my interests and things like that, and she had me kind of take this online survey thing that kind of helps you figure out what career is kind of best for you, like based on your personality, and it was a really cool test. And the results were that I should do something kind of in the human services field, so kind of helping others and social work, that kind of thing is what it came out with.
That's great. And that's kind of what you had said to me that you were interested in, so it's probably reassuring to see that it kind of lines up. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was really good. And then she spoke to me a little bit about different post-secondary options that I could take. She spoke about some different online courses that I can take to get a diploma in social work. Spoke about different programs that offer evening classes that may be better for me because I'm not sure about the online piece with my way of learning. I think I might need something kind of in class.
Okay.
So I'm going to look into different programs through Mount Royal is what I'm going to look at.
That sounds great. And the whole point of the career counselor too, it's just something looking ahead to the future. Right? You had talked about how you had goals and that there was more that you wanted to do with in regards to your career. So it's it's something to look forward to and just as you can maybe pursue. So that's great that you are able to.
Yeah, we have another meeting in a couple weeks, and she's going to help me when I register and take that step. So I'm looking into specific programs and I want to get into. So
yeah, it's fantastic. Really good. And the third one was just a night out on your own and utilizing your parents as a babysitter just so you could take some time for you to have fun. Did you get a chance to do that?
That one?
No.
I found it really hard. I find it really hard to ask for help when I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't really have a reason to ask my parents. Right. I didn't really have any plans this week to go out or do anything for myself. And with work going better, I felt kind of in a better state to be able to care for the boys properly in the evenings and was able to give them like attention and that kind of thing. But I'm really struggling with asking my parents for help and that piece of things because I just feel like my children are my responsibility and I don't want to put that on my parents because I feel like we've already spoken about this, but I feel like I'm already getting so much from them and they're already doing so much for me that I don't want to add any extra favors that they would have to do for me. So I'm gonna get around to doing that this week.
Okay, and that's it's great that out of the three, that we were able to really move forward. And that piece with the kids, it sounds like because the other two goals you were able to work at those, that it translated over to a better week with the boys and being able to maybe be more patient. I know you said at the end of the day you were so exhausted from work and that it was draining. So maybe with that piece kind of out of the picture, you had that patience at the end of the day. So that's good. And what about the boy's father? I know that he has responsibility to take them as well. Were you able to connect with him to take the boys for a little while, or?
We fought a lot this week. There was a lot of arguments back and forth. He originally said that he would take them and then something came up and I confronted him and said that we're co-parenting here and they're as much as his responsibility as they are mine. But it just turned into a big fight and it didn't end on the greatest of terms, so I don't know what to do. Okay.
So is that was that through text or phone or?
Bit of both. Yeah, we were texting back and forth and I didn't really feel like we were getting anywhere, so I tried calling him and our conversation didn't go over well. Kind of ended up with us hanging up on each other and me feeling really angry and frustrated and just that kind of cycle of when we were together, the types of fights that we would have.
So what did you do? How did you sort of deal with that anger and frustration after the conversations and texts happened?
I didn't really know how to deal with it. I felt just really angry. I felt anxious. My heart was beating. Like I didn't really know what to do with those emotions.
So it sounds like it's all new to you, this whole divorce process and co-parenting and.
Whereas, because before we would continue fighting until at some point we would get to some sort of middle ground solution. But now that we're separated, it's just like it can just end and the feelings aren't resolved and the situation there isn't resolved, and I felt that I was just left with those angry, frustrated feelings without any way to solve them or deal with them.
So it sounds like you maybe need a way to cope with this because you're not together anymore, so once the conversation ends, you're kind of left on your own to deal with all the emotions that go along with that.
Yeah.
When you get frustrated and angry at other times, do you have a way that you like to cope with that? Do you
well, when we're kind of in the moment and we're fighting, there's a lot of screaming and yelling and crying and anger, and then I find after these kind of fights we've been having since we've been separated, it's just been a lot of those feelings continue, right? And I sometimes take it out on my parents, friends, that kind of thing, and the boys sometimes too. I know that whenever we get into an argument, my patience with them is a little bit lower than it should be, so I just find that it's everyone else's problem and I take it out on everybody else, and I know I don't mean to, but that's just kind of how I'm feeling in that moment. It's hard to separate those feelings of anger and frustration and all those difficult feelings after dealing with him and getting back to being happy. I don't know how to get that in between, getting back to my normal self after those fights.
Right, because it sounds like what you're saying before, you would still have him there to work through the problems. Now that you don't, it kind of projects onto the people who are there around you while you're still feeling those feelings.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we maybe need to come up with something that you can work through on your own in those moments so that it can come to a resolution and then that way you can separate that from the other relationships that you have.
Yeah, because I don't want to take it out on anyone else because they don't deserve that. It's not. I know it's none of their fault. It's just sometimes easier to take it out on people that I know won't react the same way that he does.
Right. So is there anything, I know that you don't have maybe time to get away from the boys physically, but is there in your parents' house somewhere where you could go and be on your own and I know for myself I like to take a bath when I'm stressed, or do you enjoy writing, or is there any sort of activity that you do that you find common in the situation?
Sometimes, again, I don't like to ask my parents for too much, so typically the boys, they go to bed around 8:30, so I usually try and take that time to do stuff for me, but I find that I've tried the strategies of taking a bath and doing things that are relaxing, but I find in those situations I'm stuck with my thoughts, and sometimes I can get even more upset.
Right.
Because it's too quiet and there's nothing to distract me from those feelings, and when it's a quiet time I kind of have to face those feelings and I don't always want to do that. So I sometimes find those quiet times a bit more stressful and I actually try and avoid them.
So is there anything with the relationship with your ex-husband that you are doing as parents? For example, has the court ordered any sort of co-parenting classes, or maybe it could be something that you could talk to him about, kind of the guidelines moving forward, what it's going to look like as parents. Separate.
Sorry.
Okay.
Marlon.
You could always just sick your dog on him.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
I'm just rewatch my face. I'm like, whoa!
Real life session. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That was funny. I like it with the dogs. It's like the spider. So.
Yeah, he does that randomly. There wasn't anyone there. He just thinks he hears something.
Yes. Okay, so going back to you and your ex-husband, It sounds like maybe it's something you can work on together. I know it's probably hard because the relationship is not a it's not a good one right now. It's not in a good place. But as a father, he loves his boys. You know, I'm sure in the previous sessions you said, but he's not taking the time to do his responsibilities. So, sorry, I've completely lost it. Sorry. Okay. So, is there anything that maybe you could work at? Maybe talking to someone.
I don't know what he's doing. Go lie down. Go lie down.
You're gonna be here and have to lie down.
That's okay. Don't even worry about it. Yes. Okay. So in the courts, what have they said moving forward that you and your husband are to do through the divorce process?
We're both expected to take parenting classes.
Okay.
But we're expected to take them separately.
Okay.
And there was a court order for him to take like an anger management related to divorce.
But unfortunately, you can't control.
No, and last I heard, I think he was attending the parenting ones. I don't know about the anger management ones, so.
Okay. So I guess moving forward, we're just going to, you're going to have to find something that just works for you and the boy.
Okay, go lie down. I'm so sorry. Sit.
This makes it entertaining.
Sorry.
So maybe we'll just have to talk through maybe something that you could find on your own to work through those times. So you had said before that you get to talk to your sister and she's supportive and she's kind of outside of the area of your parents who are always helping. So have you, do you call her at all when you have these difficult times? Is she someone that's good to talk to?
She is, yes, but I haven't called her lately. Again, I don't like to talk a whole lot about my problems because I know that everyone has their own lives and I don't want to put my problems on anybody else. So I to be honest, she doesn't really know the extent of how bad things are and how much I'm kind of struggling right now with them and those types of things. And
I think you've made a good step in coming and talking to someone. You had said normally someone that's not involved in a situation. So I think that's a good first step. Has this helped you in those times?
Yeah, it is nice to have someone that's neutral because I do find, as I mentioned this before, that sometimes when I go to my family or friends or people that know him, I know that they're automatically taking my side and they can kind of, at times maybe escalate me even more because they kind of make those comments, oh, that jerk or whatever, and it just gets me even more upset sometimes when I talk to them because they just kind of fuel me up.
Right.
Because it is so personal and they kind of know me on a different level, so I do find that this is helpful for sure.
So the last fight that happened, do you want to elaborate how that started or what it was about? So maybe we can come to a place of where it wouldn't get to that point on the phone or through text. So
it was arranged that he would take the boys this weekend and he was going to take them to the zoo. He was going to have a sleepover, have a movie night, and he told them that was the plan. So they were very, very excited. There was lots of questions of when are we going to go see Daddy and how many more days, how many more hours, and all those questions that kids typically ask. And then he texted me Thursday, which is the day before they were supposed to go with him, saying that something came up. but he wouldn't tell me what it was, and then he wouldn't elaborate. He would just say that it's none of my business what he's doing, but he just couldn't take them, and I told him that I had plans while the boys were gone, and now this is affecting my life as well, and that, I know, just a lot of fighting around who needs to not go back on his promises, and that the boys were looking forward to it, and I tried to frame it in a way that, how this is really affecting the boys and try not make it about me. But he still just said, too bad, something came up, there's nothing I can do about it, there's nothing I can do about it. There was a couple I'm sorry's, but no real remorse. It was just a fight, and we didn't end up taking them.
And were you left to reveal that information to the boys that they wouldn't be going with Dad?
Yes.
And how did that go?
Not well. They were very emotional, very upset. They said that we were supposed to do this, we were supposed to do that. And I was still angry as well, so I didn't really know how to comfort them because I was really frustrated too. And I told them I'm sorry. I don't know what else to do. I don't know what to tell you. This is, but it's hard to have kids understand that. So yeah, we were kind of texting back and forth, and I eventually called him and tried to just have a conversation and say, hey, like, this isn't okay. And I know that I started yelling and swear words were thrown out, and there was lots of conflict between us, him the same, and then he just said, it is what it is, I can't take them, and hung up the phone.
Okay. And so not only were the boys disappointed, the time where you were able to take some time for yourself was also interrupted.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you don't want to ask from your parents to do that because you feel it's more your responsibility and their father's responsibility to look after the boys.
Yeah.
I can understand that would have been hard on the boys. So what did you end up doing for the weekend then? The boys had all these expectations and you had plans, so what ended up happening?
Everyone was kind of off this past weekend, so I didn't really want to take them out because I knew that there would only be lots of tantrums and Mom, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And I didn't have the patience to deal with that either, so we stayed in. We went to the local park one day, and then we just kind of watched movies, and I tried to just have a relaxing weekend with them, but they didn't really want to relax, so there was a lot of fighting and timeouts and early bedtimes and that kind of thing, so it wasn't really a great weekend.
So to hear that, I guess you're all trying to adjust to the new normal. It used to be everyone together, even though there was fighting, Dad was there, but now it sounds like he's not.
No.
He's not there for them.
No.
So needing to work out a new way of functioning and getting through the week, and because it sounds like now work is going well, even living with your parents is going well, but this part of dealing with the husband, moving forward, we just losing my train of thought. So I think what we'll have to maybe accept what he's been doing, because you have no control over what he's going to do, and just trying to figure out how maybe you and the boys can cope with this, with having him out of the picture. So what do you and the boys do for fun when you do have a good time? What do you...
With winter coming, they really enjoy going out tobogganing and that kind of thing, go to like the hill and go sliding down the hill. They enjoy going to the mall because they like the different play places that they can stop at and have lunch. They like to go to the park. And they like things like the zoo and the science center and that kind of thing. If I catch them on the right day where the mood is right, we can have a nice, quiet, calm movie night, but that all depends kind of on their moods for that day. And we like just kind of spending time with family and friends, having my other friends with their kids come over and they play together, and yeah, that's about it.
That's good. And you said over the weekend after that had happened, the boys were kind of off. Did they mention it throughout the weekend about Dad not being there or asking about it again, or did it just?
No, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of their behaviors and tantrums and feelings of anger and frustration, I think that's what it kind of resulted from, but they didn't really vocalize that.
So for the boys, are they able to talk to anyone? Do you have them talking to a counselor or, you know?
No, I don't.
Because it sounds like they're also having a really difficult time understanding all the emotions and understanding why Dad isn't coming and that sort of thing. So it might be something worth looking into just for them, because it'll be someone who will be able to relate to you useful tools in dealing with those scenarios, and giving the boys tools to work through those emotions and understanding. Because often with children, they put it on themselves, and they look to themselves as maybe the root of this cause, or it's my fault Dad's not coming. So oftentimes it comes in tantrums and that sort of thing. So it might be a good thing to look into this week, just maybe having them set up with someone to talk to.
Sure.
And we can talk more about that after. And so when this happens, with the relationship with the boys, do they get that time maybe with another part of the family other than you that can, with the grandparents? I know you said that they spend lots of time. Do they?
Okay. Blame on the
I
dog.
don't even know what to do anymore. Oh my god. Oh, I saw that now. I'm completely lost. Okay. So, someone to talk to for the boys.
Do you know anyone specific that I could connect the boys to through your office, or anyone that you would recommend that we see?
We do have someone that works closely with us here in our office. That it could even be something that there would be sessions with each of the boys individually, together, and as a family as well, because I think it's important that the tools that they're given, they would also be able to work with you on how to implement them, so that at those times, if the boys, those feelings that they have are completely normal, just learning how to cope with them is going to not only help them, but it'll help you when those times come, because it sounds like it's going to be, it's par for the course right now. We can hope that Dad will, eventually work to being present and being there and taking up his responsibility, but it's something that we're gonna have to learn to deal with. When those times do happen, tools for you, tools for them, tools for the family to work through those hard times.
And with them being so young, how does therapy and counseling work for younger kids?
So it's very different. The counselor that we work through uses a lot of play. So often they use just playtime, different tools, Play-Doh, those sorts of things. Children open up when they're doing something hands-on, so it's very, it's not this face-to-face. If that's what they gravitate towards, of course they'll do that, but I think, children, they often use play as a way to use those tools for them to cope and to open up and that sort of thing. So it's very, it's a very calm environment. It's unintimidating, so it's it's beneficial for kids. And the therapist that we have works with children specifically in divorce or when a parent passes away, those sorts of things. So they'll know. There's can be tools and there are things that can translate over into the home as well. So that is definitely something we can set up after this.
Okay, great.
So I just wanted to go back to when you get those phone calls. I think that something we can work on this week specifically is how you deal with the frustration and the anger so that it kind of ends at that conversation and it doesn't translate over into the other relationships that you have. Especially you've told me before that your biggest area that you want to make sure you're doing well at is as a mother, that you don't want that slipping, and you felt as of late because of everything that's going on that is an area where you're struggling. So maybe I know it's hard in the moment when you're on the phone in those phone calls and he's not showing up again because you feel you need to tell him that he needs to be stepping up. But maybe leaving the phone conversations on a good note and finding another outlet for you to take out that anger and frustration. You had mentioned in a previous session that you loved the outdoors, but that it's something that you don't do much. What do you like to do outdoors?
Mostly just going for hikes and walks and that kind of thing. I don't know. I just feel like the whole situation with him is just never gonna get any better. Like I just feel like he is who he is, and this fighting is just going to keep going and going and going, and I just don't have a whole lot of hope, or I just don't think it's gonna get any better. And I don't know, like you said, I don't have control over him, but the way he talks to me and treats me and his decisions really affect me.
Right.
And I just don't see it. I just don't see it getting any better.
Yeah. So the relationship between you and him is at a point where, it very well might not get to a place that is amicable on both parts, but you do have the control on your side how that goes, and so that's why if you can leave it sort of at a point where the anger that you have is not taken out on him anymore, but you can find that other outlet. I think that it will help you, and also it might help that relationship from getting to a point that you can't turn back from, because unfortunately he's going to the parenting classes, but when he doesn't show up, there's
and I feel like this is going to be an ongoing thing. Like he's just going to keep making these choices, and the boys are going to continuously be disappointed by him, and this is just going to be a really vicious cycle that's never going to improve. It's never going to go away. I just feel like it's a really, with it being so new, I don't know. I don't see it changing. So I think that it's just potentially it's going to get worse as the boys get older, and their reactions to it might get worse too.
What kind of dad was he when he was with you and with the boys? Was he hands-on, or was he?
At first, yeah, and then he's kind of distanced himself, and lots of arguing started, and then it just kind of got progressively worse from there.
So it sounds like it's just he's never been at a place where he's been totally invested. Am I right in saying that?
No, not really.
So moving forward, you can know that you can control what you do with the boys and with the relationship there. And unfortunately, like I said, there is, we can't force him to be involved in that sort of thing. And I think that you've done a great job at getting the independence with your work and making those steps. So I think that it sounds like this is going to be the hardest part for you is how to function in the new family dynamic, especially when you feel like you're the only one that's really investing in the family.
Yeah, it's hard to think positively with him. I find myself often kind of resorting to the worst outcome and negative thoughts because I just feel so frustrated and angry when he does this, and by his actions and behaviors, like I said, I don't think it's going to get any better.
So the worst outcome to you is that what is the worst outcome that you think will happen with him in regards to?
The worst, I think he will become completely absent from the boys, and I think that would be the worst outcome for them, for sure.
And the indications to that for you are that he is skipping out on times he said he would be.
Yeah. He's kind of, making choices, and his actions kind of are speaking louder than words right now, right? If he really cared about them, then he would make an effort to come see them, but I see a pattern of excuses, and it's been weeks since he's seen them, so I feel like he's starting to drift away, and that he may just completely kind of forget about them altogether.
So for an ideal outcome, what would you like this whole new dynamic to look like?
Well, I think in a perfect world, I'd like to go back to the way our marriage was at first and be together. But I know that my trust in him is gone, and that will never happen. So with the situation at hand, I think the best outcome would be a respectful relationship between him and I, where we could have civil conversations. I don't expect us to be each other's best friends, but just to be able to be adults and have a conversation and be able to co-parent while apart. So somehow find a middle ground where we both can play equal parts in our children's life and be positive influences on the kids. So I don't know if that would look like switching off every week, that you stay with me one week, with him the other, and we just kind of go back and forth like that. And I would like for the boys to be the least disruptive as possible. Right. So that, I think, would be the best outcome.
And have you ever had the opportunity to talk to him about this?
No. A lot of our conversations have just kind of been about in the moment things that we're dealing with and fighting because he's not doing what he said he would do.
So do you think this would be even in the possibility that you could sit down and talk to him about, and if he would listen?
Maybe we would need to get to a point where we're able to, I think the first step is to be able to have a civil conversation with each other, but I think that we're just so frustrated with each other, and there's still a lot of anger, that it's hard for us to have that civil conversation with each other.
So until your relationship gets to a point where maybe you can talk civilly together, do you think then the boys and his relationship will not?
Unless he makes some changes on his own, I don't see it getting any better.
Because this sounds like something that's affecting both sides. I wonder if maybe the relationship between you two if that did get to a point where you could talk civilly, if possibly the relationship, he would be with the boys when he's supposed to, but that's not a guarantee. So have you ever, you had said before in the marriage counselor that you, when you were married to him, you had gone to marriage counseling, but that now you're to attend separate co-parenting classes. Now, as parents, it's something that you do together. Would he be willing to talk to someone with you? Maybe if there was a third party to kind of mediate the conversations. Do you think that would be something that would be helpful?
I think it would be helpful. I'm just not sure if he would be. I would be open to it because I do want that best outcome that I just talked about. But I'm not sure if he would be open to it. I'll probably have to ask him.
Right. And again, that's the control that you don't have. Being separated, and he is his own person. There is, there is the other side. We can look at this situation and look at it a worst case scenario, but it was good that you were able to see kind of in an ideal world how you'd like it to go. And you said that you'd like the amicable relationship where there's no arguing, and again that comes to where we can only do what we can on this side. So maybe this week moving forward, if you have conversations with him, do you think you could do your, I know it's hard because it's a stressful situation, and the feelings of anger and that sort of thing come out, but doing your piece to keep that kind of anger out of the conversations with him, even when he does back out, on his responsibilities and that sort of thing, and doing something instead of taking it out on that conversation, so that you can come to a resolution, whether it be calling your sister, calling myself, just another ear that can kind of hear your side of it, because it sounds like he just kind of closes off and ends terribly. Do you think you could try that, or do you know somebody that you'd like to? It could be me, you could call me in that time as well. Was that something that you could try this week?
Yeah, I think that it would help to talk it through, because I think before, when I get upset, I wouldn't really talk about why I was upset. I was just upset towards the people around me. So I think it would help to kind of work through with someone why I'm upset, and kind of do that in the moment, kind of post phone call if I'm still upset, and talk about how it made me feel, how the conversation went, and I think with that it may help me kind of calm down before I deal with the boys or work or that kind of thing.
And another option is always, another thing that I often recommend is journaling. So writing down immediately those feelings, and then you can come back to it during one of these sessions, that it gets it kind of out. It's not staying in you or coming out in yelling or arguing. Have you ever done journaling?
I've never tried journaling, no, but I do find that if I kind of process through things and talk things out, that's really helpful.
And I know you said that you didn't want to do it with your family because they automatically, just side with you and don't often understand what's going on. So it might be, worth trying this time if there is a conversation where you see it's going to completely upset you. Just ending a conversation with him and then processing through that, whether it's through writing or sending an email or a phone call. That would be something.
Sure.
And just see how that works out.
Sure. That sounds good. I think that would really help me kind of, like I said, process through those emotions before I go and do other things. I think it's important that I work through them kind of in the moment.
Right. Because then, if not, then they kind of follow you to everything else that you're doing that day.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, well, I think that maybe, unless there's anything else you wanted to open up about today, we can leave it at that, and then just so I guess your homework this week would be during a conversation. Is there a time coming up where he's supposed to take the boys, or when does that
Yeah,
happen
he is
next?
supposed to take them this weekend.
So just go into that conversation with him knowing that he may come, and that would be best case. Worst case would be that he cancels again. So if you go in with that knowledge that yes, he might take them, no, he might not, and having the steps that you want to take for either of the outcomes. And for the worst case scenario being that you'll end the conversation and then take a different outlet for the feelings that come out of that, and that might help you at least process on your end in in a way that works out better for you and for the boys and the parents.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I guess I will see you next.
Great, thank you.
Oh my word.